Think back to the 1980s for a second. Back then, the general consensus in the tech world was pretty much that software could only really advance if companies kept absolute, tight, ironclad control over their code. Fast forward to today, and open source code literally runs the internet. Hey everyone, welcome to another TLDR Studio Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a major new policy essay spearheaded by NVIDIA titled Open Weights and American AI Leadership. And we're going to break down exactly what this massive industry push means for the products you're building right now.
It's wild to think about that shift, right? Moving from closed to open essentially changed everything. The modern open source reality didn't just make software cheaper, it created this incredible shared foundation of knowledge. I mean, today, open source doesn't just support the world's largest tech companies, it is the literal backbone for critical US military missions and federal agency cybersecurity.
Well, guess what? We are standing at that exact same crossroads today, but this time it's with artificial intelligence. This push for an open AI ecosystem is being driven by a huge coalition, with industry heavyweights like NVIDIA and Meta really leading the charge here. They're basically making the case that our AI future shouldn't be locked behind closed doors either.
And we're not just talking about a couple of fringe idealists putting this out there. This is a massive, broad industry consensus. You've got Microsoft, IBM, Hugging Face, venture capital giants like Andreessen Horowitz, and startup accelerators like Combinator. All of these major innovators are locking arms to argue that the US absolutely needs a strong, open AI ecosystem if we want to maintain technological leadership and keep driving innovation forward. So, what's their core argument? It really boils down to this. American AI leadership is not going to be judged by what they call a frontier model monopoly, meaning it's not about who holds the keys to one single, massively powerful, closed model. When you concentrate advanced capabilities like that, you end up with dangerous single points of failure, and you totally stifle competition. Instead, they argue that true leadership is defined by an open ecosystem, where AI tech diffuses everywhere, into every single sector. That's what creates broad prosperity and really robust application layers. It's essentially about giving Americans greater control over the technology that they're actually going to rely on day to day. Now, for those of us building products, this is where it gets super interesting. The sheer scale of economic access this unlocks is huge. When we talk about open weights, which, just as a quick refresher, are AI models that anyone can download, inspect, tweak, and run on their own hardware, we're talking about empowering basically everyone. Startups, universities, hospitals, even farms, and your local Main Street businesses can start building incredibly advanced tools. They don't have to train a massive model from scratch, and crucially, they don't have to pay premium frontier model prices for every single basic task they want to automate. There's a quote in the essay that absolutely nails this concept. It says you need to match the right model to the right job at the right cost. Because if you are building a product, it makes sense to reserve those massive, expensive, frontier-scale capabilities for genuine, highly complex frontier problems. But for everything else, the billions of everyday routine tasks, you deploy efficient, specialized, open models. That kind of discipline is exactly what makes scaling AI economically sustainable for a business. Okay, I know what you're probably thinking. What about safety, right? Isn't it a bit dangerous to just let these powerful models out into the wild? The coalition actually pushes back really hard on the assumption that closed automatically equals safer. They argue that relying solely on closed models leaves us incredibly vulnerable to breaches or failures that outside experts can't even see, let alone fix. Their counter-philosophy is that transparency can actually be more secure than obscurity, because with open-weight models, you have a massive, global community of researchers and developers who can rigorously test these models, red team them, and patch vulnerabilities way faster than any single closed-door team ever could. And to protect this rapid cycle of innovation, the essay draws a really important line in the sand regarding a technique called distillation. So distillation is basically the practice of using one model's outputs to help train, improve, evaluate, or validate another model. The coalition emphasizes that this is a widely used, completely legitimate technique. It actually reflects a long, healthy tradition in the tech world of learning from and building upon existing technologies. While unlawful extraction or outright theft from closed models definitely needs to be handled by legal frameworks, the essay argues that throwing sweeping restrictions on techniques like distillation would just severely choke AI innovation. Now, to be totally fair, and the authors are very upfront about this, we do have to be nuanced here. Open weights aren't just sunshine and rainbows. They carry real, distinct risks. Once these weights are released, they are completely out of the original developer's control. If a bad actor modifies them maliciously, it is really hard to trace or reverse. But on the flip side, we have to live in reality. In a world where cyber attackers are absolutely 100% going to use advanced AI, the best defense is making sure that the white hat defenders have access to equally powerful open models. You simply can't fight an AI-powered attack if you don't have the tools to simulate, detect, and respond to those evolving threats. So practically speaking, how do we make sure this ecosystem actually thrives and isn't just driven overseas by overregulation? The coalition lays out 3 specific policy steps. Number 1, expand access to compute power for startups and researchers. Number 2, invest in shared training assets. Think open datasets and evaluation frameworks. And number 3, keep the frontier plural by avoiding premature restrictions on open models that could essentially kill competition before it even takes root. Ultimately, bringing this all back to you, what does this actually mean for your product roadmap? The tech giants and innovators behind this essay are telling us that the age of AI can be an era of shared prosperity, but it absolutely requires making the right choices right now. So the big question you have to ask yourself and your engineering team is this: are you going to lock your startup's future into a single provider's closed system, just crossing your fingers that they don't change their pricing or pull the plug? Or will you leverage the control, the privacy, and the incredible flexibility of an open-weight ecosystem to truly own your value and drive your own innovation? The foundation you choose today is going to dictate exactly what you can build tomorrow. Thanks for exploring this explainer with me, and keep building.